Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good day, our viewers from different corners of the world. I am Umar Isa Dandago, welcoming you to this very special interview with my guest, Fatima Babaji. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her later, but let's kick off because today's interview, is just like a friendly conversation between two old friends, and she has got a lot of things to tell us, to share with us, because she was caught up in the war that is currently going on between Russia and Ukraine. So that is why she's here on the show to talk us through it and hear some stories about how it affected her particularly and how it affected her friends and the kind of disruption that it has caused to their own studies. Let me briefly start with this short introduction. The European countries have in many years seen one of the biggest tragedies on their continent. If you can recall, it was on the 24th of February 2022, Russia launched a full-scale invasion of its neighboring country, that is Ukraine, which was once part and parcel of the former Soviet Union. A lot of things have happened, and this invasion and the war, as many Western media organizations are calling it, has caused a great deal of destruction in the country, and it has affected as many people as possible, not just those who are living and are still living in the country of Ukraine, but as far as Africa and Asia, because many countries are feeling the brunt of this war economically because of the destruction and the disruption in the commercial chain, something like that. In the economy of the world. So Nigerians too are among those who have been affected. And as you know, a lot of Nigerians are there studying in Ukraine, have been there, most of them, for years, including my guest today. And that is why we have asked her to join us via Zoom, because she's not in Kano, in order for us to hear from her. Well, Fatima Babaji, it's a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, could you please briefly introduce yourself?
Okay, my name is Fatima Babaji. I'm currently a fifth year or 6-year medical student. I just finished my 5th year a couple months ago. I study in Zaporizhia State Medical University in Zaporizhia State in Ukraine. That's pretty much it, really. I don't have much to say.
That's great. Yeah, you said the name of the city or state, whatever they call it, is Zaporizhia, right?
Yes, Zaporizhia.
Okay, Zaporizhia. What's the name of your university?
Zaporizhia State Medical University.
That's great. So that's really interesting. Let's kick off. I know you are studying medicine and you want to be a medical doctor. Why has medicine been your childhood ambition?
Actually, medicine wasn't something that I always wanted to study. I didn't always want to be a doctor, actually. It was actually a suggestion from my parents. And at that time, I didn't really have a passion in anything. So I decided to give it a try. Ukraine was not the first country on my list. There was tons of other European countries, but as things would have it, as life happens, Ukraine happened to be the last option and was available. So that's why I went with this option.
You said that it was Ukraine happened to be the last option. What do you mean? You mean like you couldn't get admissions to study, say, in the UK or France or Germany or Netherlands, and then you ended up studying in Ukraine?
Not exactly. Since we're speaking about medicine specifically, the procedure of studying medicine in other countries are different. The first option was Romania. Germany was also on the list. But after going through the procedure and knowing that you'd have to learn some languages here and there, we thought Ukraine would be better. But actually what happened is that the Romanian embassy went on vacation, and I wasn't able to get my student visa on time to make it to the university and take my entrance exam. So I guess 2 weeks later, my father was like, okay, Ukraine is available. Let's try it. So I actually didn't know I'd be going to Ukraine. I found out like maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks before going there.
Well, the next question is, why is it that we have a lot of Nigerians studying in Ukraine? And I did some digging, and I got to understand a couple of reasons why many people from Nigeria choose to study or have been chosen to study in Ukraine. One of the reasons is cheap tuition fee for bachelors of medicine and bachelor of surgery, that's MBBS, because a data collected from studyiniukraine.site show that the tuition fees for MBBS range from $4,000 to $5,000 per year in Ukraine, whereas in the United States, whereas in the UK, it's like between $15,000 to $60,000. In the United States, is between $15,000 to $75,000 US dollars. And like, to my utter surprise, studying medicine in a Nigerian private university is much more expensive than studying medicine in Ukraine, because in a typical Nigerian private university, it's about $7,000 to $8,000 per year. So did you also consider this option, like studying medicine in Ukraine is much cheaper than studying in the UK and others?
Not really, because I never thought of studying medicine on my own, so it wasn't anything that I did research on. For me, I think my case is a little bit different than other students, because this decision was very much influenced by my parents. So I kind of just went with the flow. However, I would say that yes, it is more affordable than studying medicine in the United States, and a lot shorter, I think, and a lot easier. What I learned from many students who studied with me in Ukraine is that a lot of them had tried to get admission in their own countries for maybe 2 years or 3 years, but they weren't able to because of the high standards or high competition. And so many students from all over the world tend to go to Ukraine because it's easier to get in. And not only that, but it's also cheaper. So I guess price plays a big role, but also the fact that you can get admitted easily also plays a big role.
So the ease of the study is also important. I'm particularly interested in one part of the story that you've just shared, that is the parent influence on you studying medicine. Isn't it kind of weird in the 21st century for parents to dictate to their children? Well, dictate might be a strong word, but to influence their children to study what they want them to study, not what the children want to study. Even though, to be fair with you, you said you did not have any choice.
To be honest, I would say that it's something that we will continue to see for a very long time, because what I notice is that the parents are not directly forcing or dictating their children to do what they want them to do, but it's the fact that we're raised in this culture or this environment, and we feel as if the best thing to do is to listen to our parents, even if we have our own options. So we might oppose for maybe a few days, but after a while, you know, the pressure from everyone, oh, just listen to your parents, gets to you, and you end up accepting it as your choice, even though it's not really your choice because you weren't given the option to choose what you wanted to do in the beginning. So I would say that it's not strange at all. I think it's just something that's in our culture, at least in this side of the world, you know, the eastern side of the world. And I don't think it's intentional. I think it's just something that's naturally in us because of the culture and environment that we live in. But maybe in the future, if we become more open, it can change. Who knows?
Yeah, of course. Only God knows what's going to happen in the future. But and it's still important since, as you said, and you have admitted that it's part and parcel of our culture. We have to accept it. If someone needs a blessing, whatever they're doing, they need the blessings and the permission of their parents, right?
That's true.
That's really important. So let's move on. One interesting thing. Before we move on, are you giving it much of your attention, given the fact that you are not the one who chose to study medicine? Are you paying much attention to it? Or, hey, no, I'm not, since it's not my choice, it's my parents' choice.
You mean to the whole medical course in general, or?
Yeah,
I would say
to the whole medical course.
No, I'm paying attention to it. I actually do try my best, and I actually do very well in school. It's a miracle, but I do very well in my studies, and I actually plan on using my medical degree to do something else in the future. So I am trying my best.
So you are committed to the system. That's great.
Yes.
Good. Another interesting thing about the reason why many people choose to study in Ukraine is the language barrier. Not language barrier, but a lot of universities in Ukraine are teaching in English. Thereby, international students like people from African countries, Asian countries whose countries are using English as an official language choose to study there in Ukraine because there are universities in which all lectures are carried out in English. Is it true?
Yes, it is true. This is one attractive thing. I think I mentioned Germany before, that it was an option for me to study in Germany, or maybe even another Western European country, but you would have to learn fluent German, and that would take years. But in Ukraine and Romania, Hungary, they offer these courses that are supposed to be in 100% English. So that attracts some people. This is something that is there.
Yeah, that's great. And it's a hugely significant development, especially to us Africans who are studying there, since we cannot have time, we don't even literally have time to learn their language. But at the end of the day, probably in the course of our interaction with their people, we get to pick up one or two things, right?
That's true. A lot of people actually become fluent and maybe want to start business or work or something. But yes, learning the language is something that's in the curriculum, because you actually do need it if you want to communicate with others.
So you can speak both Russian and Ukrainian fluently now?
No, I cannot speak Russian. I think in the past 4 years or so, Ukraine is going through some reform, and they have decided to stop teaching foreign students Russian. So actually what we learn in school is Ukrainian. They teach us Ukrainian language. I think it started in 2017, the year that I started my studies in Ukraine. But it's a bit conflicting, because if you live in the eastern region, like how I did, majority of the population speak Russian outside. It's natural. A lot of them speak Russian.
Close to the region?
Yes, towards Russia, they speak Russian. That eastern side of Ukraine speak Russian. And we are learning Ukrainian. And so it's a bit conflicting, because you go out and you want to practice your Ukrainian, but they're speaking Russian to you. It can be a little bit weird, but I would say that the people who came before that, who were learning Russian, have tremendous skill more than us who came afterwards, because there is no conflict in communication. But this is just the situation in the East. I don't know what it's like in the west of Ukraine, where everyone only speaks Ukrainian and not even Russian. So there is some politics in play here, but I would say that no, I don't speak Russian, and my Ukrainian is, I won't say it's great, actually. I spoke English the whole time. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I spoke English all the time.
Okay, so that's really important. Let's talk about um, the invasion now. Now to the heart of the matter. The invasion happened. The first full-scale invasion happened on the 24th of February 2022. Where were you then when it started, and at what time did it start? Because you are very much close to the area where it started. Uh,
I was in my apartment, actually. I think it was like at 5 a.m. My sister, I have a blood sister who actually also
uh,
studies medicine with me, and we share an apartment. Um, she came into my room and she says, "Look," and she shows me the headlines that Kyiv was just bombed. And then a few minutes later, we see the major cities were also bombed. So I was literally in my room. We woke up to pray Fajr prayer, the first prayer, and we saw the news because I think that whole week and the week before that, there was a lot of commotion about the US and the UK pulling out their citizens and telling people to evacuate. And we were trying to just kind of stay updated and we didn't know what would happen. So we would read the news like every few hours, maybe every hour. And so the first thing we did when we woke up for prayer is, refresh the page and see what's on the headlines. And we saw the bombings. So to answer your question, I was at home.
well, but why didn't you leave as early as possible? Probably when the UK and the US were busy pulling their citizens out, because like it occurred weeks before the invasion. Putin sent, the president of Russia sent troops to the border, and there were a lot of stories coming out saying that the Russian president was going to invade Ukraine. The invasion was possible, even though the Western countries were like not taking it seriously. Probably
Mhm.
you should have left.
That's easy for you to say. It's really easy for other people to say, but it depends. My friends
Mm.
who were in Kyiv, they left, and I would ask them, "Why are you leaving? Why are you panicking? Nothing is going to happen." Well, it's because in their region, the capital, there was a lot of panic. That's where the hot zone was,
Mhm.
where a lot of foreigners are, and they were actually scared and panicked. In my region, it's close to Russia. People there are really relaxed, really chill, if I could say. And they
Yeah.
were like, "Oh, nothing's going to happen. Putin has been doing this for years," and no one was panicking. Nothing. It was just like quiet zone. As a matter of fact, we don't even have TV that would a news channel that would broadcast this news. In order to get our information, we would have to get it from like online a day later or 2 days later to make sure it's verified or not fake news. So we did not feel the panic when we were being very optimistic and just like, "Oh, nothing's going to happen." Maybe you heard a few years ago, I think in 2018, 19, Russia bombed one of Ukraine's warships and we went on martial law and nothing happened. We thought we were going to go home. A lot of people canceled their vacations for the winter and nothing happened. So we were kind of like, okay, nothing's going to happen this time. And not only that, but our university played a really big role. We asked them, can we go home? What's going to happen? We're studying online. What should we do? And they said that they actually released official public statements saying that, "Oh, nothing's going to happen. And if you leave, that's on you and you have to come back and take your exams." Pretty much didn't make us feel like we had the possibility to leave and still be able to do what we had to do academically. So I would say it was just being optimistic, and also the school giving us this type of reassurance and threats of leaving. If we left and our academics were affected by this, we would be solely responsible and have to bear the consequences, even though we were just trying to protect ourselves. This was it.
So they made it categorically clear that if you left, it would be at your own risk.
Exactly. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So how did it feel? How did you feel getting that warning or threat from your university?
Yeah, we were really upset. I mean, we already knew our university was not the best university, but to bring out this public statement again shows you how the mentality of the people is in that area of Ukraine. Very relaxed, very skeptical, very untrusting of the government, I would say. And so this wasn't anything new to us. You know, we, as a fifth year student, I already knew the university would not do anything unless a bomb fell from the sky. Then they would say, okay, you could go. So I wasn't very surprised, but I was upset that they could be so confident that nothing would happen. And if we left, it was on us. Of course, they regretted their decision and regretted releasing those public statements, but you know, it is what it is.
So now tell me, when did you decide to leave Ukraine? Can you remember the day and the date?
That I decided to leave? I think I decided to leave February 28th. No.
Like 4 days after the invasion?
Yes, actually. Yeah. 27th or 28th, I decided to leave. As you know, or maybe many people don't know this because a lot of people would ask, why aren't you leaving? There's a no-fly zone. There are no planes coming in or out. And actually a week before the invasion, there were practically no available flights, all sold out. So if you wanted to leave, you should have left 2 weeks ahead of time, actually.
Which was practically impossible.
I mean, if you were very skeptical and very scared, then yeah, you would have left the first time they gave the warning, which was the ending of January, I believe. But if you were like me and other students who didn't think anything would happen and also afraid of suffering academically, then you would wait until the last minute. But we didn't know that there was no such thing as the last minute. So that same day that the bombs dropped, the first attacks, Ukraine was issued a no-fly zone and all flights were canceled. I had friends who packed their luggage and were supposed to leave that same morning, my neighbor actually, and she just couldn't go. Didn't even get to go to the airport. But anyway, that's why I thought that, okay, no-fly zone, I can't leave. I'm just gonna wait until the war is over. This is what everyone kind of thought at first, but then we heard that people were crossing the borders and leaving through the west side of the country. So I initially thought, oh, there's no way that we can get to the west. We live in the east and the west is down there. How are we supposed to go? Are we going to take a train?
Very far.
Yeah, it's very, very far. And there's a risk of a bomb dropping on the train. And how are we going to get across? We don't drive. We don't have a car. Lots of things. So we initially thought that, okay, we're going to have to wait it out. But things changed. A group of students from Zimbabwe left. It was organized by, I think, their church or their government or something. And when they successfully got to the West, then we decided, okay, I guess we can try as well. And I think that was February 28th. I think that very morning, and that was the same day I left.
So did you live with your sister and a couple of other friends from Nigeria?
Yes, actually. I think the day after the attack, I went to campus to stay with other students, me and my sister and my neighbor. And on campus, we stayed with a group of students from Nigeria. And we stayed in their rooms just so we can communicate with each other, go to the bunkers together, because the bunkers, I think in my apartment complex wasn't very safe. Not like the ones in school were safe either, but just to stay with other students and connect with information. So I left with about 300 other students. I think my whole school left that same day, but I was close with, I think, 8 other students.
So did you take a train from school? What happened then after you gathered at that school? What happened? Then you took a train or bus or what?
A train, actually. We went to the train station because we heard that there would be trains, and all the trains were free at this point, but we don't know what time they would be reaching or getting there. Luckily, the train in my city was the very first stop. And so we could all come in and sit, but we didn't know what time the train was coming. That morning, actually, on the way to the train station, there were sirens ringing, and we didn't know if we should go or if we should hide, but we still went anyway. Luckily, I think it was the best choice. That first train ride was 24 hours. Yeah, at least 24 hours. And, you know,
without interruption, without stopping by?
No, without any stops, 24 hours straight. And the train would stop, but only to pick up people. It wasn't like you can get off and rest. Actually, you couldn't even stand up on that train. It was 300% full, or maybe let's say 500% full, which means if one person was supposed to be on one seat, 5 people would be on one seat. It was literally an escape train. This is what we call escaping the country. It was very full, and it took 24 hours. It was very cold, lots of atrocities. I don't know, maybe it's too strong to say. I would just say it was very harsh. You know, some people didn't eat. I know I didn't eat anything because I didn't want to use the restroom. I'm a little bit picky about that. I don't know what diseases I could catch.
Of course, you're a medical student.
Yeah.
You know the risk.
Yeah, it's a lot of risk. Too many people. Too many people. Oh, okay.
So now, after 24 hours, then you reached Polish border or the Hungarian border?
After 24 hours, I reached the city of Lviv. And after being in the city of Lviv, then we had to decide Slovakia, Poland, or Hungary. Poland, we heard the borders were very congested. And my friend from Zimbabwe, like I mentioned, she took the Polish border and she was walking for 12 hours straight. So we decided, no, we're not going to Poland. We're going to go to Hungary, because the friend that I was with, her church organized a place for us to spend the night, and then a bus that would take us directly into the Hungarian border for relatively $30 per person. And we decided that at least we can sit down. And so we decided to go to Hungary because of that. But we had to wait in the train station for a few hours. That was the scariest part. After you got out of the train station, you saw like thousands of people walking down and trains going back and forth from each side. It's so dangerous. It was really, really bad. Like, I don't even know how to describe it. Think about a marketplace, but with no space in front of you or next to you, just people. And then you could see trains. Basically, we decided just when we landed in the western city where we would go. We didn't really know. We just knew that we had to leave. And it was only there that we made, I think, the best decision, because at least we could rest, and at least we could take a bus. So,
like after 24 hours, after you reached that border, I mean the city of Lviv, you had an option. You have 3 options to either go to Poland or Slovakia or Hungary. But at the end of the day, you chose Hungary, even though you had to pay some money to get into the Hungarian border, to pass through the Hungarian border. You said $30,000, something like that?
No, just $30 per student to get on the bus to get to the Hungarian border. It's relatively cheap. A lot of people were paying $1,000 for a taxi to drop them off at the border, and then they would have to walk some distance and wait. Per person.
Those people should have sympathized with you, should have pitied you, because you are escaping death, literally, and probably you left a lot of things behind. Why did they have to take your money?
I have no idea. Human nature, greed, capitalism. You do what you can to take what you can. Exploitation, lots of things can make people act that way. I would say that now I understand. I guess Ukrainians understood that a lot of them wouldn't be leaving the country, and this situation means that hard times are coming. So let's make the most money that we can now out of desperate people leaving. This is why I guess we weren't pitied because they knew we were desperate to leave, and they also need money to get their family out or to survive these upcoming months, which will not be easy.
Yeah, it's been 4 months now into the war. Tell us about your experience of racism, because there is a BBC documentary put together by Peter Okochi, one of the leading presenters of Focus on Africa on the BBC World News. He went there a few days after the invasion, and he spoke to Africans and other people there who said that they were being maltreated. They even said, well, publicly, that this was not our war, or as they say at that time, this is not our war. Why are we suffering as well? So tell us, they cried a lot about racism, that they were treated as a second-class citizens. They were not treated fairly. Did you see that? And how would you justify the fact that there was racism, probably in Ukraine or on the Ukrainian-Polish border, something like that?
To be honest, I lived in the east of Ukraine, and I never really experienced racism before this. I never, I mean, yeah, they're ignorant. Some people are ignorant. They've never seen Black people and they're surprised or something. But I wouldn't say they were racist or treated us differently just because we were Black. However, during this crisis, I feel like a lot of people panicked, and panic can, you know, entice some selfishness and self-centeredness. And I saw a lot of that actually just getting on that first train that I told you about that took 24 hours. People wanted to push others off the train. Ukrainians push other people off the train. Ukrainians feeling kind of entitled for everything. But I won't say it's from racism. I would say it's because of panic.
Okay, so you still have given them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
That they were doing this for the sake of survival.
Yes, because after 5 years, I did not experience any like extreme racism or anything, just ignorance, I would say. I was never so uncomfortable. But during that incident, I did see panic, and I did see that, okay, they are very scared, and maybe they feel that they need to leave because, I don't know, just panic.
Yeah.
I would say it came from panic.
Yeah. Yes, of course. Okay. So how can you please help us clarify this issue? Because a lot of people were media saying that they were treated unfairly. The people there were racist, especially on the Polish border. Can you prove to us that this thing happened? Not just to you, but it happened to other people. Do you have evidence that it happened?
Evidence, just word of mouth. I mean, I would say personally, what I experienced was people trying to push me and my group of friends off the train because they wanted to get on first. And also when I was at the Hungarian border, the Ukrainian side of the Hungarian border, we were not checked. We were not cleared as fast as the Ukrainians were. We were at that border for 20 hours. I was on a bus at one stop for 20 hours because our bus were full of students and the cars were full of Ukrainians. The cars went very smoothly, but our bus was not checked for 20 hours. I don't want to say it's discrimination, but I would say that obviously some people got priority treatment. And I think that's what was happening at the borders.
Okay, so this is your own personal interpretation, but others have interpreted it as racism, something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Okay. Now, how are you feeling? Now, how are you coping, given the fact that you have gone through a lot? You probably, as some people said, you people escaped death. So how are you feeling? Talk to us about your psychological and mental state of being now.
I'm okay. Alhamdulillah, I'm okay now. At first, I was feeling really bad. The whole journey was very traumatic, and I left all of my belongings, every single thing. I left with my pajamas, my cell phone, my passport. That was it.
Sorry.
And I caught COVID. A lot of people caught COVID. I told you that train was really bad, and we took it to Hungary. I stayed for a week. I was sick. We came back to Nigeria. We found out that one of the students that left from my school passed away. And it was just, it was a really bad experience. But now, alhamdulillah, I think I'm okay. I'm doing well. I'm optimistic for the future. So
that's great.
Everything is good.
Yeah. So 2 or 3 more questions before we go. What are you doing now to keep yourself busy and to keep your mind off this whole thing?
We may not have that time, but we can just rejoin actually, and you can edit everything. But what am I doing now?
So let's.
Right now, I am just enjoying my summer vacation. I finished my 5th year study. I think that probably I may do a clinical practice in the hospital, and I teach English online, so I keep myself busy doing my hobbies. That's pretty much it.
So that's great. It's good for you to keep yourself busy, and I really am interested in that online teaching. Personally, is good. I'm also an English teacher. We have some students. I teach in an English academy here in Kano, and I have one public speaking class, which is a virtual class. Maybe one day I will ask you to come in and say hi to the students.
Oh, it's nice. Inshallah.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much. Are there still some Nigerians trapped in Ukraine, or all of the Nigerian students are back now that you know of?
I would say that all of the students who wanted to leave have left, but there are some people who have decided to stay. I know there were like 86 volunteers to fight, and 35 had died or something like that. And
from Nigeria?
And some 30 have left, and there are like some still remaining to fight. I have no idea why they're doing this. But yes, there are some people there, but I don't think they're students. I think they are just Nigerians who lived in Ukraine.
I'm surprised. How come we had some Nigerians staying there in order to fight, while others are saying that, hey, it's not our war, we're just trapped in it?
Some people like Ukraine. Some people really love the country, and so they decide to stay. Some people have family, and they decide to stay with their family.
So that's why they're doing this fight to help President Volodymyr Zelensky.
Maybe.
Oh, that's great. Finally, what messages do you have for your friends and family members who have come back from Ukraine because of this war?
Wow. Okay. I think I would like to say to be optimistic, to not lose hope, and that it's not the end. We have the rest of our lives. I mean, who knows what's going to happen, right? Just because we encountered this problem now doesn't mean that we wouldn't have encountered it in the future in some other form. Problems come and go all the time. And so let's just try to be positive and keep going. It's very unfortunate, but things like this happen. That's all I could say. And to not try to resist the situation so much, but to kind of accept it and look for solutions while still remaining positive. I think this is the best approach.
Okay. Do you think going back to Ukraine is possible anytime soon?
Yes, actually, it's possible. Many people go back. Many Ukrainians are going back to Ukraine, and I've even heard of instances of some students going back to Ukraine, because there are a lot of students still in Europe. I don't know if you've heard, but lots of African students or Moroccan students, all students have been displaced in Europe now. And some have actually decided to go back. And so it is possible, but it's still not safe. It wouldn't be something that I would be doing, but a lot of people are doing it. And but I hope that I can do it in the future, because I would really like to get all of my things, my belongings, and kind of just end this chapter peacefully.
So you're confident that when you go back to Ukraine, you will find all your belongings intact, untouched?
Absolutely. I'm very positive. I'm trying to be positive about that. my landlord has packed all of my items out of my apartment and has placed them in storage. And so actually, that's why I'm kind of positive, because I've had an arrangement with him.
That's great. So I wish you all the best, and
Thank you.
I hope well, things are gonna get back better and better very soon,
Inshallah.
inshallah.
Yes, inshallah.
So, and I'm looking forward to interviewing you well anytime soon in the future, but not as Fatima Babaji, but as Dr. Fatima Babaji, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Thank you for this space.
Yeah. What can you say about the interview style and the program?
I would say it's very nice. It was okay. Your questions were not too probing. It did feel like a casual a casual conversation, which was nice. I would say it was okay.
Yeah, yeah. So thank God you're not a politician, because whenever a politician comes on the show, he or she has to be grilled and peppered with a lot of questions. That's normally what we do.
Yeah.
Of course.
I hope I covered everything. I mean, this is just
Sure.
the truth. Is this what you wanted to know about how we escaped and what we were thinking? I hope.
Yeah, no problem. You've already explained all those things in a great detail, and I'm going to host another person. Is a young man who also escaped the war. He's not in Kano, but he told me that he's coming back to Kano very, very soon. And when he comes, he will come into the studio. I'll have a conversation with him. So we will talk to him about his own experiences. Probably he's going to share some things that are different from what you have experienced. So at least to also balance the equation, we've heard from a great lady. So we're also going to hear from a guy next time.
I would say that one thing that you might want to include in your interview with him is his opinion about how the Nigerian government handled the evacuation, because a lot of people did have some questions about that and were very skeptical about the Nigerian government not doing anything, but that's very, very wrong. Actually, the Nigerian government did so much to help. And actually, they were given amazing treatment. I bet you didn't know that all the most of the evacuees were, when they were evacuated, they didn't have to pay for their plane ticket or COVID test. They got free data, $100, a 4-square meal, and everything. It was very amazing treatment. If I'm being very honest, the only thing that was lacking was maybe organization, but there were like 3 flights.
Organization from which side? The side of the government or the side of the students?
I think the sides of both, because when I landed in Hungary, I was at just train station and a Hungarian government came to find me, not the Nigerian embassy. It was the Hungarian government that gave my group an opportunity to stay for free at a hotel for as long as we needed, not the Nigerian government. And when it came to the flights, we were hearing the flight is coming today, but the flight didn't come today. So I would say that type of organization was really bad. They could have had someone collect all the names of the Nigerian students coming in, coming out, but they did not. We had to go to the embassy ourselves and fill out a form, and we're in a foreign country. We don't speak Hungarian. How are we supposed to know? So that organization was the only bad thing. But the fact that they actually did provide flights within 5 days or within 4 days was actually, I think, good enough. Actually, really good enough. And
we should give them the credit.
Yeah, exactly. We really need to give them the credit for that, because they really actually did what they said they were going to do. Maybe it wasn't organized so well on the side of the embassies in those countries, but that may not even be because of the federal government here. It may be because of the people who work in the embassies there. But the fact that they actually really tried their best to do what they could is amazing. I did not expect them to fly to Ukraine. It's a no-fly zone. Russia might have shot down the planes, but they actually brought planes to Hungary, Poland, different countries to get students out. And I think that credit needs to be given to them, and really good treatment. Like I said, $100 MTN credit. It would, come on, it's pretty good.
Yeah, and 4 square meal, as you said.
Yeah, rice, plantain, chicken, things that we like to eat. So
that's really important, and thank God that you've shared this piece of information with us. And I'm sure the government agents, when they hear this, they will feel happy and they will feel like, yes, we have done justice to them. And that's really what we are trying to do here. Thank you very much.
No problem. It's all right.
So thank you very much indeed on behalf of everyone that has contributed to the production of the program, and the big boss, Zainab Abdurrahman Agogo. My name is Umar Isa Dembigo, saying goodbye and have a wonderful day ahead.
Thank you. Thank you.